What's going on, everybody? Rob Ferretti here, braving the heat in June in Florida. And if you've not been in Central Florida in June, then you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But it's pretty damn hot. I'll be honest with you. But E.C.D called me up and they say, hey, we've got a new product line and we think you're going to be into it. And it was worth me braving the Florida heat to come down and check it out. Let's go inside and I'll show you what they've got. So you're familiar with the Beach Runner. You're familiar with the E-Types. You have to recognize this. This is a classic 67 Mustang. I gotta say, it's looking pretty good. And that's worth the trip to Florida. I have never driven a classic Mustang before, and today I'm going to. And I don't know, I don't think you can call yourself a car guy if you don't look at this car and get excited. This generation Mustang, the best generation Mustang, this is what all the throwback cars are aspiring to try to replicate. And the fact that they put these crazy marketing dollars into trying to recreate this in a modern form just shows you how impactful this car was with all the other generations of Mustangs that came after it. This is the one that really stuck and that really gets people excited. So let's go over to the design side over here and start speccing out a car and seeing what my Mustang would look like if I built it. So the customization and design experience is going to be the same as the E-Type and the Land Rovers. You get to come spec out exactly what you're looking to do, change all these different options, and make the exact car you want to make. You could change the brakes, the colors, the seats, the interior, and for $250,000 or so, you're going to want to make it exactly what you want to look at every time you go into your garage. Now, some of the options you're going to have, obviously, you can put a 2JZ in that if you want to go all fast and the furious. But they have a collaboration with Roush, so you can get a classic Roush motor if you want to put it in, and you can go as wild as you want. I get it. It's really cool to have 1,200 horsepower. I think this car is probably solid at 600. This one that I'm going to be driving today has 400 horsepower, and I think 600 is probably going to be the right number to maintain reliability, not have heat issues, and be fun to drive around in. Now, this basic engine here makes 550 horsepower, which is probably going to be all you need in this car. 550 engine horsepower is going to be enough to break those tires loose at any point in time, because once you start going above that, you know what you're gonna have to do? You're gonna have to do more brakes, more suspension. You're gonna have, everything's gotta get upgraded. This is the right amount of power for this car. So you hear me right here. Fuel injected, if you wanna go fuel injected versus carbureted, 550 horsepower is gonna fit right in that engine bay perfectly. Now is the fun part. Now is when I get to take this car out, go for a rip, and see how it handles the Florida heat and how I can handle a classic Mustang. This is my first time ever driving a classic Mustang, so I'm really excited because my only experience with any Mustang is my Cobra R, which had no air conditioning, and I like that car, so I'm excited to see what this does. All right, I'm excited for this. Nice.
Really fantastic drive.
Yeah, that's people don't understand the American muscle car until you just hear that. Does it say manual seat probably?
I believe so. I think this is
Oh, I got it, yep. You ever try moving a seat while you're driving and you just like fly to the back and you're like, that was a bad move? This is my first time driving a car of this nature. But this sound right there is like that Gone in 60 Seconds movie noise.
Yeah.
What does it rev to? I don't want to go. It doesn't go to 10, does it? No.
I think it's around 6, 7.
Okay, that's what I figured. Okay.
That part right there.
Yeah. See how the cruising gear is on this one?
Yeah.
So this is how you're going to live in it most of the time, so.
Yeah.
See, it's funny because I think the guy that spends 250, 300 grand on a car like this isn't really out there to line up and do burnouts at every stoplight. He's out there for a nice cruiser, which is elegant and just like classic. And just like, oh yeah, I got a lot of money, but also I have divine taste.
Exactly.
I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these didn't go over to Europe, because Europe would eat these things up. Classic Mustang, but these would stand out tremendously over there.
Yeah. Even over here, it does.
Yeah.
And a few times I drove it, this happens a lot.
Yeah, the beeping and the honking.
Yeah.
But my dad had a 1970 Mach 1 growing up. So this is actually getting a little bit of the experience that he got. This obviously isn't a Mach 1, or it's not based off of a Mach 1, but the Mach 1 was based off of this chassis. It is sort of what you expect, right? Like, I'm a creature of loving cars I grew up with, and I understand now the guys that grew up in the 60s and 70s and even the 50s, they have a huge love and respect for these cars, and now they have the important part, which is the money to buy them, but they're not as great as they were when they were kids. That's the same thing I did with my Supra. Like, my Supra, I bought it and I'm like, you know what, the Supra needs a little something. And that's effectively what they did here, is that they gave it a little bit of something. I'm gonna give it a little bit of something, give it a little throttle. So it's not, so we're not talking like rocket ship, but it's got the, and I don't wanna say the smells, but it's got the feel that you'd expect driving a car like this. It's got a charm to it. And I think that's the whole purpose behind E.C.D. is they take these classic cars and they bring them back and give them a whole second life and make them better, but keep the character that defined them and it made everybody fall in love with them to begin with. And this one, it's not going to win the race. You're not going to go drag race a Ferrari 458 at the light and win, but it looks cool. Everybody honks and beeps at this thing. It's gorgeous, and the fit and finish is what you're really going to like. To go get an old car, it's going to smell like an old car. You're probably going to have rats under the carpets or something like that, but this cures all those problems and just gives you a good, clean version of what you're looking for, and it delivers the exact experience that you want. And it's nostalgic. Nostalgic is the word. Now, this isn't an E.C.D car yet. E.C.D is going to be making these cars. This is a demo from the company. It's actually a customer car from the company that they acquired to then grant effectively the licensing to take off and sell these products to people. I love the throw you back in your seat throttle response here. That's what people love about these cars. And any movie you watch, it's got a classic Mustang, it's always like throwing you back in your seat. That was third gear. I was dramatizing that. But first and second gear, it definitely has that kick you in the back of your seat, held in by your lap belt. Just a little slice of history with a V8. Let's go! And also brakes, and brakes are important. What a great experience though. The sounds of this car are exactly what you hope they'd be. So I think what this car really sells people on is just the muscle car thing, right? What do people love to do with a muscle car? They love to rev it up. That's what you want, that back of the seat. Now that's not winning a race, but that's pretty damn fun. And that's what people are paying the money for. That, and it looks good, it sounds good, and it throws you in the back of your seat. This one doesn't even have the big engine. This has about 400 horsepower. Most of the options that they're going to give you start at about 550 horsepower, which is going to make even thicker and darker 11s going down the road. It's just nice to have this experience. You don't really get this experience with you don't get this experience with modern day cars. It's not even a, I don't think you do, you don't. This car in bone stock form is not going to be great. It's not going to drive as well as when you put the time into redeveloping it and bringing it up to more of a modern day standard while still paying attention to what people liked and appreciated about the car to begin with, which is what made it so popular. And this is the best generation of Mustang. And how can I make such a bold statement? Well, it's easy. When you think about throwback cars, when they run out of ways to sell a car, they make it look like the most favorite and the best one. And if you look at the recent Mustangs, they made the generation look like this. The taillights in the back, iconic. Everybody thinks of Mustangs. You can have just a painting on the wall with those 3 taillights on both sides and you know exactly what they're from. So, best generation of Mustang, and it's for a good reason. And I think this product line is going to do pretty damn well. All right, so I'm back. I just did 2 drives because the first time I went out, I'm like, hey, you know, my camera wasn't working and they let me go out again. My camera was working, but I just wanted to go drive it again after lunch. This thing was super fun, very nostalgic, very cool feeling. It's not a modern day car, right? You can't consider it a modern day car. This one was not built by E.C.D, so they're going to be adding their own specific touches to this. So I'm really excited to see what these things look like when they come off the production line. Obviously, they're going to look great. But I can't wait to drive something that they also design and that some of the other customers spec out. It's going to be a lot of fun watching this process. And as I've said, this company is doing God's work. If you're a car guy, we have the last generations. If you don't see it on the road now, it's probably not going to be really fun to drive going forward. All these hybrids and electrics and everything like that. You're going to have cars like this and you're going to have to keep them running until our kids' generation doesn't care about cars anymore, and that's a sad time. I won't be here to witness it, but as long as I'm around, we're gonna have cool stuff like this to drive. Thanks to E.C.D. I want to thank them for having me out here down in Florida. It was totally worth the trip to come down and have this experience. And if you guys are interested in finding out more details, click the link in the description and you'll find out more. The lead time on these cars, you're looking at about 6 months now because I got to queue up the production line and everything like that. But figure about 8 to 12 months would be a safe bet if you want to have one of these in your driveway. If you want the mobile design trailer to come out, they can bring that out. You can spec it out at your house. You can call it in, whatever you want to do. If you need a Mustang or a Beach Runner, right there, Beach Runner, or an E-Type, or even a Land Rover Defender, they've got you covered. Rob Ferretti, thank you for watching. See you next time. This is what you're going to see a lot if you're ever cruising down a highway, which most people probably won't be in this car. About 80 miles an hour, you're about 2,200 RPM, which is geared really nice. It's not screaming, it's not causing unnecessary heat. It's a very drivable combination that they have here between the gearbox and the engine. So the gear ratio is not too crazy like you would make for a drag setup where all you care about is that quarter mile and you end up driving, oh, here's a cop, let's see if I can get pulled over. You end up driving at 60, 70 miles an hour and, oh, he's totally radaring. So, 2 things. 1, I'm pretty sure the speedometer is accurate, and 2, cops in Florida are okay with 80 and whatever we are. So, good news.